Hey everyone, welcome to The Savoring. I'm Jimmy.
And I'm Richie.
In this video, we're going to show you one of the ways that Richie makes fresh pasta. You know, you just can't beat the flavor and texture of fresh pasta so much better than dry pasta, in my opinion. We're going to take you through the process of what dry ingredients we used, what wet ingredients we used, how we mixed the dough, how we kneaded the dough, then how we rolled it out and cut it into spaghetti and fettuccine. So here's a look at all the ingredients that we're going to need.
We're going to need eggs, flour, salt, and oil. 4 basic ingredients. We're using a combination of flours. We're using semolina and 00. We're using fresh eggs. We're using sea salt and olive oil. So we're going to be using 8 eggs. We're using 6 yolks and 2 whole eggs. We're going to start by cracking and separating the yolks out of the 6 eggs. Then we're going to put the 2 whole eggs in. I like to weigh the flour. Since semolina and 00 flour weigh different per volume, 1 cup of each is going to weigh different. Also, on top of that, one of my cups and one of Jimmy's cups are going to weigh different as we pack them differently into the cup. So here we're going to weigh 100 grams of 00 flour, and we're going to weigh 180 grams of semolina. You can use any combination you like.
So to mix the flour, Richie's going to put it in a KitchenAid mixer. I know a lot of people mix it on the board, but he's going to use his mixer.
So after weighing the flour, dump it in the mixing bowl, put it on the stand, turn the mixer on setting number 2 with the dough hook. Let it spin by itself with none of the wet ingredients, and that's going to form a well in the center for us to dump the wet ingredients when it's time. So after the well is formed, we're going to add the salt, and then we're going to pour our eggs in the well that we created. We're going to close the mixer, we're going to turn it on number 1, and we're going to start mixing. It's going to slowly start pulling some of the flour from the well we made into it. After a couple minutes of mixing, it's going to look like this. There's going to be flour up the side of the wall. We're going to grab a spatula and safely start to incorporate some of that flour back into the mixture.
Safely.
Safely.
Safely's the key word, because that'll take your hand off.
This mixer will rip your hand off. After a couple more minutes of mixing, it's going to look something like this. It's time to add the oil.
Then after a couple of more minutes, it's going to look something like this, and it's just about ready to take out of the mixer, I think. Take it out and form it into a ball on the board.
And it's time to start kneading by hand.
So you want to make sure you flour your board before you do this.
I knead my dough a little differently than most people. I got my first job at a pizza restaurant. We used to make pizza dough from scratch, and this is how I made the roll-ups for the pizza. So I just started doing pasta dough the same way, and it worked out pretty good for me.
So you just flatten it out into like a disc and then just sort of start on one end and roll it?
That's what I do. Yeah, I mash it down into like a circle, and then I start rolling it up, and then I fold it in on itself, and I'll mash it down again.
How many times do you knead the dough?
Until it has a texture of about Play-Doh. We all know what Play-Doh feels like, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think so.
You want it to feel kind of smooth. I know whenever I knead pasta dough, at first it feels rough, and by the time I'm done kneading, it feels a lot smoother.
Yeah, this is going to be nice and smooth. And this recipe actually is perfect. You don't have to add any more flour at the end because it's too tacky, or you don't have to add any more oil because it's too dry. This combination of dry and wet ingredients usually always comes out perfect.
So once you're done kneading it, you're making it into a ball right here?
That's right, and then we're going to just sprinkle it with some oil and wrap it up.
So we're going to rest the dough for about 30 minutes to an hour. If it's going to be longer than an hour, you want to go ahead and put it in the refrigerator.
All right, after about 45 minutes, we're going to unwrap the dough. We're going to put it on the board. We're going to flour it a little bit, make it easier to work with. We're going to flatten this thing down. We're going to create 4 equal portions out of it. So we're going to make 4 separate sheets of pasta. We're going to take the first little triangle we made. We're going to shape it a little bit. We want to make an oval out of this, so we're going to ball it up into an oval and flatten it down. We want the best possible foundation going into the roller that we can. So we're going to flour the roller, we're going to flour the dough, we're going to put it on its widest setting, and we're going to roll it through. All right, after it comes out, it's going to be rough around the edges. I like to do what we call laminating the dough, and that's basically folding it in on itself, and we're going to roll it through again.
I always want to keep flouring it too, because it tends to get sticky. You don't want it to stick to the rollers or stick to the board.
So we'll first start on the widest setting. I like to roll it through 3 or 4 or 5 times, laminate it a couple times, and then I also like to clean up the edges on the last roll.
This way you get a nice squared off piece of pasta every time you roll it through there.
After the final roll on the widest setting, it's gonna come out and the edges are nice and square. We have a good foundation to start thinning it out. So we're gonna take our roller, we're gonna put it on the next setting, which is 2. We're gonna flour this baby up, and I run it through number 2 on 2 or 3 times also. And we're gonna go to setting number 3, make it thinner. We'll go about 2 times on number 3. We're gonna flour this every time we run it through. All right, now we're gonna go to number 4. Okay, after number 5, it's gonna come out looking like this. We're gonna flour, we're gonna push it to the side, and we're gonna do the other 3 exactly like it. When you're done, you're gonna end up with 4 identical sheets that look just like this. So now it's time to start cutting some pasta. So we're gonna swap the die. We're gonna put the spaghetti die in. We're gonna flour the die. We're gonna make 2 of these sheets spaghetti. We're gonna make 2 fettuccine. So we're gonna start with the sheet. We're gonna cut that sheet in half so we have manageable size spaghetti.
Yeah, you don't want some 75-foot long spaghetti.
No, that's hard to twirl on a fork.
That's right.
All right, so we're gonna run it through, and about halfway through, I'm gonna grab this and I'm gonna get it by the center where it's equal on both sides, and I'm gonna let it finish. And then we'll put it on the board, and I'm gonna kind of twist my wrist and put it on itself just like that, make a little bird's nest with it.
Nice little bird's nest.
So we're gonna finish the other 3. We're gonna make 4 perfect bird's nests of spaghetti. These look amazing. And once this spaghetti's rolled and put on a board, you can dry it on the board. You can put it in the boiling water immediately, or you can rest it. So the next 4, we're gonna make fettuccine. So we're gonna swap the die again and use the fettuccine die. So we're gonna run it through the fettuccine die. Halfway through the die, I'm gonna grab it, but we're gonna dry this differently. We're gonna put this on a drying rack. I like to dry mine for an hour or so before I put it in there. It makes it a little bit manageable in the water. So we're gonna finish the other sheets just like this, and we're gonna dry them.
So you can immediately put fresh cut pasta into boiling water, but it tends to be a little more mushy, and so it's a little better if you dry it out some. But either way, it's still delicious. Once we're done, we've got some nice fresh fettuccine and some nice little bird's nests of spaghetti ready for some boiling water, ready for some amazing sauces.
All right, guys, so we have some amazing sauce recipes to pair with this fresh pasta coming out, so be sure to look for them. If you liked this video or learned anything at all, please like it and please subscribe to our channel so we can make a lot more. Thanks.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you on the next video.